9,000 years ago, someone sat very still while another person drilled directly into their tooth. No anesthesia, no painkillers, no dental chair, just a bow drill, a steady hand, and a patient who had no other choice. This is not a legend. This is not an ancient myth. This is one of the most remarkable archaeological discoveries of the last 50 years, confirmed by physical evidence, confirmed by science, confirmed by 11 human teeth found in a graveyard in the Indus Valley. The Indus Valley Civilization is one of the oldest and most sophisticated urban civilizations in all of human history. At its peak, it stretched across what is today Pakistan, northwest India, and parts of Afghanistan. Its cities, Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, had populations numbering in the tens of thousands, advanced sewage systems, standardized weights and measures, and a level of urban planning that would not be seen again in South Asia for thousands of years. But it was a small site, a humble graveyard called Mehrgarh, located in what is now the Balochistan province of Pakistan, that would provide the evidence that changed everything we thought we knew about the history of dentistry. In 2001, researchers excavating Mehrgarh discovered something unexpected inside the mouths of ancient skeletons. 11 teeth, recovered from 9 individuals, all showing signs of deliberate drilling. Not accidental damage, not natural decay alone. Deliberate, intentional drilling, performed by a skilled hand using a specific tool designed precisely for the task. The tool used was a bow drill, the same type of tool already used by these people to drill holes in tiny beads for jewelry and ornamentation. Someone looked at that tool, looked at a patient suffering from tooth decay, and made a connection that would define dentistry for the next 9,000 years. The holes drilled into these teeth were not random. They were located specifically in the areas where decay most commonly occurs, the chewing surfaces of the molar teeth. The drilling was deep enough to remove decayed tissue. The walls of the drilled holes were smooth and regular, indicating a controlled technique, not a random scraping. One of the most remarkable findings was that some of the teeth showed multiple drilling attempts, suggesting that patients returned for follow-up treatment. This was not a one-time accident. This was a practice, a recognized medical procedure, performed by a specialist, accepted by the community, and sought out by patients despite the obvious discomfort. Now pause on that for a moment. 9,000 years ago, no written medical texts, no formal medical schools, no understanding of germ theory, no concept of sterilization, and yet someone understood that a decaying tooth caused pain and suffering, that removing the decayed material could relieve that pain, and that a bow drill was the right tool for the job. The drilling was almost certainly painful, agonizingly, brutally painful. A bow drill spinning at high speed against exposed tooth enamel, without any numbing agent whatsoever, would have been extraordinary, and yet the evidence suggests that patients sat through it, willingly, because the alternative, a tooth infection spreading through the jaw and skull in the pre-antibiotic ancient world, was potentially fatal. There is also evidence suggesting the use of a filling material. Some of the drilled teeth show traces of bitumen, a natural tar-like substance, inside the drilled holes. This suggests that the practitioners were not simply drilling for the sake of it. They were drilling, then cleaning the cavity, then filling it to protect the exposed inner tooth. Drill, clean, fill. The same basic sequence used in dental offices today, 9,000 years later. What makes this even more extraordinary is the context in which it occurred. And perhaps the most surprising part wasn't the treatment itself. It was where it happened. Mehrgarh was not yet a city. At this point in its history, it was a small farming community, one of the earliest known agricultural settlements in all of Asia. These were not yet the sophisticated city dwellers of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. These were early farmers who had only recently transitioned from hunting and gathering, and yet, among these early farmers, someone had already developed a sophisticated understanding of dental anatomy, pain relief through intervention, and precise technical execution. Before this discovery, the history of dentistry was thought to begin much later. Ancient Egyptian texts, dating to around 3500 BCE, describe toothworms as the cause of tooth decay, a theory that would persist across multiple civilizations for over 2,000 years. Mesopotamian physicians recommended henbane smoke fumigated into the aching tooth to drive the worm out. Medieval European barber surgeons simply pulled teeth out entirely with minimal ceremony and even less anesthesia. But the people of Mehrgarh were doing something fundamentally different. They were not removing the tooth. They were trying to save it. That distinction between extraction and preservation, between giving up on a tooth and fighting to keep it, is the conceptual foundation upon which all of modern dentistry rests. The discovery at Mehrgarh didn't just rewrite the history of dentistry. It rewrote our understanding of what early human communities were capable of. These were not primitive people stumbling blindly through existence. They were careful observers of the human body, creative problem solvers, and skilled practitioners of a craft that required genuine expertise and precision. The next time you sit in a dental chair, mouth open, bright light overhead, the gentle whir of a modern drill approaching your tooth, remember that this moment connects you directly to a person sitting very still in a small farming settlement in what is now Pakistan, 9,000 years ago, while someone drilled into their tooth with a bow drill and nothing else to ease the pain. Dentistry is 9,000 years old, and it was born here. But how do we know any of this? That's where the modern investigation begins. So who actually found this? In 2006, a team of researchers, led by paleoanthropologists from Italy, France, and the United States, published their findings in the journal Nature, one of the most respected scientific publications in the world. The paper had a simple, striking title: An Early Neolithic Tradition of Dentistry. Not an accident, a tradition, something taught, practiced, and passed down. To confirm their theory, the researchers didn't stop at observation. They ran an experiment. Using a replica flint-tipped bow drill, the same design found at the site, they drilled into modern human teeth donated for research purposes. It took less than a minute to produce a hole nearly identical to the ones found in the Mehrgarh skeletons. The experiment proved something crucial. This technology worked. It was fast, it was precise, and it was entirely possible with Stone Age technology. But if it only took a minute, why does this matter so much? Because a minute of high-speed drilling against a nerve-filled tooth, with no numbing, would have felt like an eternity. Modern volunteers who tried a similar hand-powered drilling motion on other materials described the vibration alone as almost unbearable. Now imagine that vibration transmitted directly through a tooth root into the jawbone itself. This was not a minor discomfort. This required real courage and real trust in the person holding the drill. So who were these people whose teeth tell this story? Analysis of the skeletons showed both men and women received this treatment, ranging in age from young adults to older individuals. This was not treatment reserved for chiefs or elites. The burials showed no signs of special status or wealth. This appears to have been ordinary health care, available to ordinary people, within an ordinary farming community. For decades, historians believed that organized medical practice began with the great river civilizations, Egypt and Mesopotamia, with their scribes, their temples, and their written records. Mehrgarh had none of that. No writing system. No monumental architecture. No surviving names of the people who lived there. And yet their teeth speak louder than any inscription. Since the original 2001 discovery, archaeologists working elsewhere in the world have found their own examples of ancient dental work in Neolithic Europe, with evidence of beeswax fillings used to seal cracked teeth. But those European examples date to around 6,500 years ago, nearly 2,500 years after the drilling at Mehrgarh. The evidence is unambiguous. The earliest known dentistry in the world did not happen in a temple. It did not happen in a palace. It happened in a small village in what is today South Asia, long before anyone was writing anything down. This matters for a bigger reason too. For much of modern history, textbooks place the origins of science and medicine almost entirely in a handful of regions. The story of Mehrgarh is a reminder that innovation was happening in far more places far earlier than we ever gave credit for. If you found this as fascinating as we did, follow for more forgotten stories hidden in the archaeological record, waiting 9,000 years to finally be heard.